Welcome back, everybody, to Eagles Centric, and we are back with some Eagles topics and news. And we have a couple of things to jump into. What the Birds need to do to beat the 49ers. Key players back in the NovaCare facility at practice. And the 49ers, they have some injuries that are going to be very intriguing. So we need to keep an eye on all of that. We have a bunch of things to jump into today. Not too much, but a good chunk. So let's get right into it here on Eagles Centric. Let's go.
Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
He's at the 20.
They should stop this one.
Domination! Snot bubbles!
He throws. Complete. Touchdown. They've got him again. They've got him again. Sack.
Crumpler, what a throw, what a hit, what a catch.
Defense is just way too much for the count.
It's caught by Alshon Jeffrey for a touchdown. Pushes. Touchdown. Jalen Hunt. Touchdown. A.J. Brown. A run. He's going to score. It's a touchdown by Nick Foles. The train is in the end zone. Touchdown. Torrey Smith in for the touchdown is Jeffrey in. Touchdown. Jalen Hunt.
So the Birds will host the 49ers on Sunday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern time, and it's going to be a huge game. And the Birds need to do a couple of things in order to win this matchup. And I think that they could dominate the 49ers handily. We already know the 49ers defense is probably one of the worst in the league. And the Eagles have basically the best advantage this Sunday. Why do I say that? Because all of our offensive linemen are healthy and rested. Some of them are coming back, like Lane Johnson, who was at practice today and yesterday. So this is a great sign for the Birds. Lane Johnson is back. Also, we got some great defensive pieces back. We'll get into that a little later in the show. But Lane Johnson, he's back. And the defensive line for the 49ers is very banged up. We know we have a lot of defensive linemen on their side who hasn't been the most healthy this season. And the defense as a whole, the 49ers defense as a whole, isn't, they suck. I'm just going to keep it real with you guys. They aren't good. So the Eagles offense, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, should be able to attack this defensive line, and the push up front should be able to be very existent in this game. I think, the offensive line for the Birds haven't been able to show their potential the full season. They haven't been able to show their potential none this season. There's been some games where they blocked pretty well, and some quarters held some downs and sequences, but they haven't been able to put a full game together where the offensive line just dominates. And seeing as though they were able to get the rest, as we already know, I think that they will be able to do what they like to do best, and that's dominate on the front. The front four for the offensive line should be very, 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 very much better. You know what? I'm not even going to put that much faith into them. I'm just going to say this. If they can't block the front four for the defensive linemen of 49ers, who I don't even know their names right now off the top of my head, then they don't deserve to win this game. Like, honestly. So go out there, dominate that defensive line that's already banged up for San Francisco, and we should be able to move the ball through the air and on the ground, but mainly through on the ground, because with Saquon Barkley not being able to put it together all season, the playoffs is where you really want to bring that run game. And the run game is like essential against this 49ers defense, who is very, very bad against it. So if we can establish the run game, I think Philly dominates this team, because we already know the saying in the NFL: if you can't stop the run, you can't stop anything. If a man can move you against your will, handedly, just do it easily without any sweat off his back, whatever, then you probably won't even be able to stop, a man-on-man coverage, get in zone, shell high, whatever. You won't be able to do it, because of the run. I'll always be able to resort back to the run game if the passing isn't working. And if you can't stop it on those third and shorts, you won't be able to get off the field. We're just going to pound it until we get in the red zone. And we're going to get lucky eventually through the air. So, and that's just a typical team. I'm not even speaking about the Eagles. I'm just speaking about your typical team. The Eagles, who have superstars that can catch the ball anywhere, and Jalen Hurts, who I believe can make any throw, should be able to kill this team through the air with his feet and with Saquon Barkley, with A.J. Brown, and definitely, most definitely, with Devontae Smith. You know, the defense for the 49ers and the 49ers as a whole are very, very, very banged up. So we can take advantage of this, like I've been saying since the beginning of this video already. We can take advantage of them not being healthy, and also not only just the health. You know, like I've said, the defense for the 49ers is very, very bad. Now you have some key players on the 49ers who did come on the injury report yesterday and today, and a lot of these guys were DNPs or limited. You know, sometimes they won't practice in the playoffs, won't give them guys too many reps. You know, you won't want to risk any injuries, but there were a lot of DNPs and limited practices that you've seen all down the 49ers injury report. And some of them even lingered into today in Thursday's practice. So the 49ers are dealing with a couple of injuries, and the most important one that I've been keeping an eye on, like over all of them, is offensive left tackle Trent Williams. And you know, that is Brock Purdy's strong suit. When Trent Williams is playing in the game, I seen a stat that Brock Purdy himself is 2-7 when Trent Williams doesn't play in a game. So if we're able to take advantage of that, that's also great. But the health for Trent Williams is something that we should very, very much be keeping our eye on. He did practice today at 49ers practice. But as Ian Rappaport said in his on the Insiders today, that, you know, a lot of players during the playoffs just all of a sudden began to get healthy. And we know that's why, because they're in the playoffs, they want to play. Of course, everything is ramped up. It's a little bit more heightened. Everything is way more heightened in the playoffs because, you know, it's a one and done type of deal. But as I've said, Trent Williams was a limited participant today. I'm sorry, I had a freaking brain fart. He was a limited participant today at 49ers practice, along with Ricky Pearsall, you know, George Kittle, and a lot of, you know, they have a good amount of players on the injury report here. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see what the Birds can do to this 49ers team that's coming in very, very banged up, and they're on the road. So we should be able to take advantage of that in itself. Now, in the beginning, before I think practice began, if I'm not mistaken, Vegas had the Eagles at like a 4.5-point favorite, which I'm not really surprised about because, you know, there's a lot of things that is really been put out, and it's really all advantage Eagles. Like I was just telling you about the injury reports and some of the key players that the Eagles have coming back, like Lane Johnson, and the Birds opened the Azeez Ojulari's practice window, which is something that I really think is great for this team. You know, the more sacks, the better, of course, in the playoffs, but this is a game that Azeez Ojulari will definitely probably get inserted in if he could make this game. And if he doesn't, we can advance. We beat the Niners, we advance, and then we see Azeez Ojulari take the field for, you know, moving forward. But as I've said, coming into this game, the Birds were 4.5-point favorites, and I think that I've seen it go up to like 5.5, if I'm not mistaken. And that is crazy because, you know, like I just said, it's advantage Philly everywhere in this game, and this is one of those games that is set up, and it's getting set up just right for the Birds to come in and have their foot on the gas for the first half. The only question that me and probably a million other Eagles fans have is, can they do it for 4 quarters? And that's literally my only question. I have no other concerns about this team. This defense has the ability to dominate a Kyle Shanahan offense who hasn't performed that well in historically against Vic Fangio. Actually, Vic Fangio has put Kyle Shanahan in the blender for the last couple of meetups that they've had against each other, and with Kyle Shanahan not even putting up 20 points in any meet that he's had with Vic Fangio. So I don't think this will be anything different. I don't think Kyle Shanahan is coming into Philly with that offense that is just going to, walk the dog on Philly's defense. If anything, is going to be the total opposite. If Trent Williams isn't playing like we just spoke about, then Purdy's going to have some very, very big, a lot of problems. He's going to have a whole lot of problems. And that's why I think watching Trent Williams in practice today, because he did practice today for the Niners, he was moving, man. I got to give it to him. I can't even lie. He was moving. So I think that's all because of, of course it's the playoffs. And, like I just said, everything's heightened up. Everything's ramped up in the playoffs. But also because of the rushing attack that the defensive line for the Birds is going to be able to put together. It's going to be very, very intimidating. And if no one's there to stop it, like Trent Williams, who could put some type of, who could get in the way of it a little bit, it's going to be a long day for Purdy. And, honestly, I don't wish for injuries for any player. That's not what we do here at Eagle Centric. But I hope that if there's a game that Trent Williams shouldn't play in, it definitely should be this game. Yeah, I second that vote. But no, honestly, I really think that, if Trent Williams does play, then he'll be able to put some type of, be a blockade of some sort to the defensive line. And especially, seeing as though he lines up on Nolan Smith's side, who's always had some success in the playoffs. So, man, I think going into this game, this is going to be very intriguing watching and seeing what the players do. Now, one thing that I'm very, very excited for and I'm hoping to see is Jalen Hurts raise his level of play in the playoffs, because he's been doubted all year. Once again, what else is new? But he's been doubted all season. And it always is cool to watch Jalen just turn up in the playoffs, especially in moments like these when he's home. It might be cold in the link. So, yeah, this is a perfect setup for the Birds, as I just said, to go in first half and have a dominant first half. Take that first half performance and go even harder. Put your foot on the gas even more. Keep your foot on their neck and squeeze down. Put some pressure on it even more in the second half. And I think Philly is capable of putting up 30 points plus against this defense. And also, our defense should be able to keep the 49ers from scoring at least over, I say 20 plus. I know that Shanahan's offense this season has put up over, something like 43 plus points a game they've averaged. And that's just a crazy stat that offense can score. But that's mainly due to the defense allowing the opposing offense to put up a lot of points. So Purdy has to be that efficient in games. And against a defense like ours, no quarterback is just efficient throughout the full game. This Christian McCaffrey thing that the defense is going to have to deal with is real. A lot of screen passes and a lot of passes to McCaffrey out of the backfield. We're going to see that. Philly is going to have to adjust to that and figure out a way to compromise Christian McCaffrey, at least for that night, because Christian McCaffrey is such a good running back, such a dynamic running back. It's not hard. It's not easy, to just contain Christian McCaffrey. Now, in the games that teams have contained Christian McCaffrey, the 49ers have looked like a totally entire different team. And this is what I mean. The defense is going to have one of its biggest tasks of the season, and it's the playoffs. So the biggest task of the postseason is going to be having to stop Christian McCaffrey and keeping pressure on Brock Purdy. And if we could do that, I don't think that the 49ers offense could, put up points against our offense, seeing as though our defense is so dominant. Like, we put BTA on anyone. There's been so many great receivers, so many great running backs, so many great quarterbacks that the Eagles defense has saw this year, and we've made them look like college quarterbacks, rookie college quarterbacks. Like, it's been that good of a defense. Vic Fangio is going to be here for like the next 5 to 10 years with how good he has these guys playing. The young guys and the vets, which there aren't many, but the vets even come in and make this team look even better. And speaking of vets, like guys coming in and playing great, Nakobe Dean is in one of his last season that could be as an Eagle. So I think this is the playoff series, a playoff run that the Birds should take advantage of, man. And, you know, Nakobe Dean spoke about that in his press conference also about how, you know, you want to take advantage of this time. You know, a lot of teams want to be in your shoes right now. You know, there's a lot of fans, Cowboys, who want to be where we are now and who probably haven't been where we're going to go, you know, in God's will. So hopefully this team does what is expected of it on Sunday, right? Like, even if the team goes out and win, that's all we care about right now. So a win is a win. But the style points, I think, should matter on your way to the Super Bowl. You know, we're a month away from it. It seems like it's a long time, but it really comes and it goes like that. So we are really on our run to the Super Bowl now. Like, this is the road to the Super Bowl for all teams, NFC, AFC. And 3 weeks away is very quick, as I just said. So let's just be dominant. Let's just be an elite team as a whole for 4 weeks straight, right? Let's win 4 weeks straight. Hell, let's win the offseason. And let's just keep winning, you know, moving forward. Try to get this thing going at the end of the year. You know, we weren't able to do what we wanted to do as a team. Saquon came nowhere near the season that he had last year. A.J. Brown, still the same old A.J. Brown. Devontae Smith, still the same old Devontae Smith, as humble and as cool as a receiver as Devontae is. And Jalen still as cool as a cucumber also. But him having a better year statistically this year, I don't think that we should take advantage of any of that, right? You want to be able to grasp this season, even though there's been ups and even though there's been a lot of more downs. Let's take everything that we've gotten from this season and put it to something positive. I don't know. Let's make it positive. Let's mold it into something positive in this postseason. And, you know, everything great that we did during the regular season, let's put all those plays together, put them on the field, and let's go perform. Because we never know who's going to be either coming to Philly or hosting us in the next round. The Panthers could beat the Rams. It's any given playoff week. So the Panthers could beat the Rams. The Seahawks may lose to the Packers. You know, we never know. It's the playoffs. And everything is heightened, which is what's so dope about the playoffs, right? If you don't have a defense and a run game, you're going to get bumped. And we've seen a lot of teams right now who snuck their way in, who, you know, eased their way in, and who's probably crept their way in. But it's now time to actually put up a shut-up. And if you don't have that defense and that run game, which is something that Philly has one half of and is probably still trying to find their identity in the other, you're going to get beat. But I think Philly can find their identity in the other in this postseason with Tank Bigsby, who I know is going to be inserted a little bit more in this postseason run, because if he doesn't, Kevin Patullo is going to be cooked. Soon after, right after the game, they're going to cook Kevin Patullo. And I'm going to be right here rooting for it. Let's go, yep. But anyway, yeah, the Eagles have a great defense and a run game that's starting to, you know, it's starting to move a little bit. So if we can just keep those two performing at a high level, and we already have elite receivers, you guys know the ending of this story. And yeah, on this video, on this show, this episode, I did not want to come on here so negative, because we know what the Birds need to do and what the Birds didn't do this regular season. Now the only thing that matters is the wins, right? We're back into that mode of where we don't care what the team looks like out there as long as they're winning. But also, you know, just a little bit of style points. Just sprinkle some style points in to give us some hope that when we do make it, we can hold up against whatever team we're facing. But I also think that whatever team comes out of the NFC is going to win it all, because this year, the more dominant teams, in my opinion, are in the NFC rather than the AFC, which is just very spotty. You never know. It's any given Sunday in the AFC. So, hey, man, like I said, man, it's very exciting. We're on our way to the playoffs, and I can't wait until Sunday, 4:30 EST, Eastern Time. Woo! Birds are at the link this Sunday. You guys get ready, and I hope you're as ready as me because I'm hyped. And, you know, the 40 Winers are back. Haven't played the 40 Winers in the playoff game since 2022, where Brock Purdy was put down. And then we put Josh Johnson down, and then they had no one. So 49ers fans are still feeling a way about that. Eagles fans are still feeling lucky from that. And it's going to be very exciting to see what happens on Sunday with Vic Fangio versus Kyle Shanahan. Who wins that matchup? I think Philly takes it. So you know how it goes here, man. You know the routine here, man. Hey, like, share, subscribe, comment, and it's all fun here. We're doing it all over here, man. You already know what time it is. Let's get it going. Like I just said, like, share, comment, subscribe, and be blessed. And you know the routine, man. Go Birds.
Caesar used to date a rapper, but he acted like a diva. Niggas hustling backwards, out here ballin' with the Rhea. Pot of Adderall, I feel like I could lift a tree up. See too many cameras, so I never lift my ski up. I jump on your song and make you sound like you the feature. I jump on your song and make a label think they need you. For real. On that bush, 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 on